So the way I typically like to structure these things is I'm going to give you a little bit of context on who I am, what I'm about, how I got started, what I do, and then I'm going to open the floor up pretty quickly for questions, because that's what I feel like gets the most value out of the room. Everybody here is dealing with different things or struggling with different issues, and to kind of frame it properly, I don't do this stuff. This stuff is really cool to me, but I don't do it. I'm an aggression and reactivity specialist, so I deal with dogs that bite, and they like to bite. So I got into this kind of by fluke. If you had asked me in the summer of 2011 what I wanted to do when I was growing up, dog trainer wouldn't have been it. And if you've done the math on that, I haven't been in the industry very long. But that being said, the time that I've spent in the industry, I've been cutting my teeth on things that most trainers that have been in this industry for a long time don't deal with. And I've learned from a lot of people that have been in this industry for a very long time. And like most great stories, it all starts with a girl. I met a girl, and she had a dog, and this dog was crazy. And off leash, there was no hope in getting his attention. On leash, this is a 65-pound dog that would pull this girl off her feet. And she was 115 pounds. Not a huge girl by any stretch of the imagination, but she had no chance in controlling him. He would react aggressively to anything with a heartbeat, and some things that didn't. And just an overall stressed out, anxious mess. Now, my business card might say dog trainer, but if I were to give myself an occupational title, it's a perpetual learner. From the time I was 9 years old, I picked up the piano. I've been a musician the better part of my life. I've studied human psychology. I've studied the psychology of attraction. I've studied emotions. I can detect on your face an expression of emotion that comes across at 1/25th of a second. I'm not doing it right now. But that's just one of those things that I learned because I wanted to learn it. I learned how to speed read. At my fastest, I could read about 800 words per minute. Average person reads about 150. I love to learn. So when the opportunity presented itself to learn something new, I jumped on it. I thought it was going to be a fun little endeavor, and it was. And where it all came together was this girl decided I have to go back home for the weekend, and bringing the dog would have been a headache because the dog didn't get along very well with her mother's new renter. So I said, leave the dog with me. And I had about a month of research in at that point and decided, let's have a great weekend. And I went all out, running the hell out of this dog, training him, practicing, putting everything that I'd learned into motion. And when she came back 48 hours later, she was astonished for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it was the first time in her life with this dog that she didn't get molested at the door. The dog greeted her happily, but without a lot of BS. A couple minutes later, when she got in and she was asking me questions, the dog went and relaxed. Another thing that was very foreign to this dog. Would not relax on his own. He just went over to his bed and lied down. And then she uttered the 5 words that forever changed the course of my life. Maybe this is your calling. Now, I had never thought of dog training as a career because when you look on college websites, dog trainer ain't there. It's an unregulated industry, and there's a lot of people out there who hang their shingles far too soon. And I may have been one of them, I'm not sure. But the point is now I get to work with dogs and owners who have failed or seen so much frustration with other services, and I get to be the one that brings them through that. And I'm happy to say that of all the dogs that I've worked, I've never lost one, never lost an aggression case, never euthanized an aggression case, never not made progress. And I won't quit. I will not quit until I exhaust everything that I know, which is a decent amount of knowledge. When I made that decision, it started me on a course that I didn't think I was going to make. It was a solid year of meticulous and obsessive research. I turned every stone, I read every article, I read most books, I watched every video I could get my hands on, I studied, I learned courses, and I got my hands on a decent amount of dogs for a fairly low price. I wasn't putting out a lot of money because, number one, I didn't feel confident in charging a lot of money. And number two, a lot of them were just friends of a friend who's like, hey, I have a dog that does this. So I take them on as a client, help them out, get them some decent results, and move along my way. It was in May 2013 that everything started to come together for me because I had what felt like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle in front of me. And it was not an easy one. It was just clouds and sky. And I didn't know where to start. In 2013 of May, I met my mentor for the first time. His name's Chad Mackin. He's a world-renowned dog trainer, travels the country doing seminars, and helped me. He didn't put the puzzle together for me, but he gave me the edges. He gave me a chunk of the puzzle, enough that I could go, that's making sense to me now, and move forward. Now, every dog trainer in the world has their own puzzle, and it's all different. I'm not the same. Even the people that train in the similar fashion that I do is not the same. We have different views, different ideas, and I like to say that it's not better or worse, it's just different. So that's kind of how I got started. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I train dogs and the mentality that I have, so when you guys ask me questions, you understand that this is the frame that I'm seeing it through. So I have what I call an obedience-first approach. Now, there's a lot of people in here who are likely around in the kennel club days where when you had a dog, that's what you did. You took it to the kennel club, you trained it up. That's not so much the case anymore, right? This is now a day and age where if we want to train our dog, we end up going to somewhere like PetSmart. And if you have a dog with any kind of problem behavior, you're just going to get super frustrated with that kind of stuff. So the way I ended up developing my approach was studying a lot of the approaches that worked the best and how it differed from a lot of others. And one of the things that I make a point of doing now is I address obedience first. And I teach in a way that is unique in the sense that I have incredibly high expectations for obedience in my program. We were just discussing, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Stephanie's dog. And I asked the question, and this is a question that I ask almost all my clients, how's your dog stay? Right? And she replied, it's decent. I said, define decent. She said, well, you can hang out probably for about 5 minutes. Now, for most people, that's a decent stay. The clients that graduate my program, I expect their dog to be able to hold a half an hour stay on command around moderate distractions without being reminded. That's just a bar that I hold for the dogs in my program. It's not that hard to get there. It's just a matter of consistency, patience, and not getting frustrated with your dog. This does a couple of things. There's a triad in dog training in my mind. And the bottom two corners are the ones that get argued the most. That is reward and consequence. You undoubtedly have been subject of internet debate or frustration or confusion based on these two little points, reward, consequence. Because there are going to be trainers out there who go, if you correct your dog, you're a cruel human being. And I don't know about you, but I've seen cruel, and the little pop on the leash doesn't qualify as cruel to me. There's also another entire sect of trainers that are going to say, if you use food in training, you're bribing your dog and not earning respect, which I also think is wrong. Dogs have a biological need to eat. If you're not using food in training, you're not utilizing all that's at your disposal for communication. However, there's a third piece at the top that no one ever argues, no one ever acknowledges, and if they don't acknowledge it, they're missing out on one of the best parts of dog training, and that's relationship. Right? Why is relationship important? I'm one of those people, and I'm on record many times saying this, that I don't care what people think of me. It does not mean I don't value your opinion. It means I value the opinion of those close to me the most. If my wife were to call me a jerk, or if my best friend were to call me a jerk, that is way different than a person on the street calling me a jerk. That's just the way it goes. I'm not going to listen to you because you don't know who I am. You don't have a relationship with me. But if my best friend goes, hey, dude, you're acting like a jerk, there's a real strong possibility that I might get defensive and go, no, I'm not. And then 30 minutes later I go, am I? I may not change my behavior right away. I'm not perfect. But it matters more from him than it does to other people. If you want to look further as to how I apply this, what's your name, ma'am?
Linda.
Linda? Let me ask you a question, Linda. If I asked for $1, would you give it to me? Maybe. What about if I asked you to grab me a bottle of water from the cooler at the back?
No problem.
No problem. What about if I asked to borrow your phone?
I don't have it with me.
Okay, valid. What if I asked you to drive me somewhere?
You know how to get there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. What if I asked to borrow your car? No. What if I asked for $20?
Probably not.
Now let me ask you one more question. If I knew you for 5 years and we were friends, are any of those things a problem?
No.
What you're willing to get for free depends a lot on the relationship you have with the individual, right? So things like this, like agility and flyball and all those real high energy, there needs to be incentive in that. But when it comes to living life with your dog, relationship matters more than the incentives. Whether that incentive is a positive motivation or a negative motivation, it matters more, right? I want to be my dog's best friend. I want to be his buddy because I know with my buddy, I can go, dude, would you grab me a beer? And he'll give me a beer. I know if I ask my wife, would you mind doing this for me, sweetie? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get a yes. And anybody in here that's married knows the 1 out of 10 times is not a yes. So one of the things I focus on a lot is relationship. What kind of quality relationship do I have with my dog? Am I asking too much? Do I presume my relationship is better than it is? And all these things can change the dynamic. Now, building a good relationship is actually pretty easy. In fact, a lot of you are doing a great job of it, doing things like this with your dog. Activities where they get to earn biological resources like play, food, interaction, social engagement are all ways of becoming more socially relevant to your dog. There are other things at play, but the biggest thing comes through fulfillment, right? Taking your dog for a walk, using food and training is a great motivator. Doing things that make you important to the dog is how you tend to build relationship. Also being respectful and trustworthy, which is something you've likely heard 101 times. So as far as, and this is the last thing I'll say before I open up the floor for questions, as far as tools, approaches, and techniques go that I will use whatever is necessary to communicate to the dog what I require of him. And my general rule of thumb that I use and my general rule of thumb that I give my clients is I want to be as soft as I can be and as firm as I need to be. Keep in mind, I'm not dealing with little poodles who won't walk nice on leash. I am dealing with German Shepherds that enjoy biting people. I am dealing with bully breeds that are just getting off on gnawing on grandma's leg. So for some of these dogs, wagging a piece of kibble in front of their nose just ain't going to do it at first. Right? We might have to use something in that to go, hey, quit that, I don't like it. And then when the dog goes, sorry man, I can go, cool, have some food. That make sense? Cool. So I'm going to open it up.